fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Voyager-class Optimus Prime from the Transformers Studio series from Hasbro. He is number 102, and as you can see, he is also part of the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line, making him a Target exclusive, which I have to admit is kind of a weird choice for probably the most iconic character from Transformers Rise of the Beasts. But here we are. Over here on the side, you can see we have Optimus Primal, Optimus Prime, RC, we have Bumblebee here, and I think this is usually somebody else. I don't know who it usually is, but I don't think it's always Optimus Primal, but they kind of subbed him in since we're talking about Rise of the Beasts here. Over here on this side, we have some nice artwork of Optimus Prime. Not really anything going on the bottom. On the top, it just says Studio Series, and then we have the Rise of the Beasts logo there. On the back, we have some nice product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. So yeah, pretty nice packaging for this guy, even though it is weird to me that he is a Target exclusive instead of just a normal part of the Studio series. But what are you going to do? Also, I wanted to point out that he is also available on Hasbro Pulse. That's where I got mine. But I believe these are starting to show up in stores at Targets as well. So hopefully he won't be too difficult to find for everybody that wants one. So I'm going to go ahead, get him out of the packaging here, and we're going to take a closer look. So just a quick shot of Optimus here in the backdrop that does come included. Even though it is Buzzworthy Bumblebee, it still has the Studio Series background, which I think is pretty cool. And I believe this is from the scene in South America, like when they're looking for the ruins. They're kind of all just kind of on the streets, you know, in disguise, kind of looking for the Terracons. So it's pretty cool little background here, and I think he fits pretty well in here. So I like that this was included. So here is Optimus out of the packaging. I think he looks pretty great. I think they did a really nice job with this one. Unfortunately, I don't have the Studio Series Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie to directly compare him to. That's long been since packed away in storage. But from what I remember, I think this one is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more straightforward. I think it's a little less bulky. I kind of remember that one being a little thicker on top. And I also remember that one being kind of a pain in the butt to transform. And I feel like this one is not nearly as bad to transform. There's something a little weird with the shoulder joints. We'll get into that as we go. But yeah, he looks pretty clean. He really doesn't have a ton of kibble, which I really appreciate. I think he's got a nice back spot here. You know, not a huge backpack or anything. Wheels are tucked away pretty nice. He's got some stuff up here on top of his shoulders, but that's not really that big of a deal. I think the head sculpt looks good. The head, I will say, looks a little small in comparison to the rest of the body, but I mean, it's just needed to fit into the chest cavity for transformation. But I don't know, it seems a little small to me, but it looks great. I think they did a nice job. The silver paint, the blue eyes, all that looks really nice. The windshield here, or the windows I should say, for his chest, the Autobot symbols are really nice and sharp. Have a little bit of yellow paint down here in the crotch. And then all of the blue down here for the legs. So all in all, I think he looks really good. I do like his design. Articulation-wise, the head is on a ball joint, so you can look up pretty well. Look down decently. Can't really tilt side to side, but you can certainly look side to side, no problem. You do have a hinge here in the shoulder, so you have a nice range of motion there, as well as a rotation. You have a bicep swivel. You kind of have two joints here in the elbow, so you can get a really nice range of motion there, because he's got kind of a double jointed elbow there. You have a wrist swivel. You have a waist swivel. You can move these little skirt pieces off to the side, so you can kick pretty far out to the side. The way that the hip is done is on kind of a separate piece, so that way this piece doesn't get in the way. You can kind of see that it's connected, instead of being connected kind of here, it's connected a little bit more in the front. That way he can still kick really far forward, which is really, really cool. And yet it still, you know, nicely positions and looks normal when he's just standing there. You have a thigh swivel there. You have a little over 90 degrees there in the knee. And then you do have an ankle tilt, and you can kind of rotate the foot side to side as well. So you have a nice range of motion there in the ankle. Yeah, all in all, I really like the look of him. I think they did a really nice job. He does come with two accessories. So he's got this little blaster piece that you can clip onto the hand, and then he's got this sword piece. Now, the sword piece, I think, came out pretty nice. I believe it was done in this blue plastic and then painted this nice kind of gunmetal gray, which looks really sharp. If you want to store it on the back, you can peg it onto one of these two lower circles here. It's a little too, these connectors are too small, so you can see there that it's going to fall out, but you can definitely pop it on right there. And then for this one, you would use either of these little pegs here on the side. And that, again, too big for that, but it can peg in there. So if you want to store his weapons on the back, you certainly can. If you want him to utilize his weapons, very simple to do. You have these gray panels here on the side, which I have to admit, I kind of wish they were red plastic instead of gray, but it is what it is. Now, technically, you could just peg this on the side here if you wanted, if you like the look of that, and you want to leave the fist out. Or you can have him actually just hold it. He could actually just hold this as a sword. That's another option. But what you're meant to do is lift this up, rotate the fist inside, and then close it up. And then there's a little spot right there that the little blue tab will pop into, and you can peg it in there so that it looks like his arm has transformed into the sword. And then conversely, you can use this peg in the front to connect the little gun turret so that it looks like his arm has transformed into the gun. I have to admit, this feels a little dinky to me. I kind of wish this was just a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit larger. It doesn't really feel integrated into the arm to me. It feels very much like you just pegged it on the end. I feel like if it was a little bit, because you have all this area to play with, they could have made it a little bit wider and I think a little bit longer, and then it would have felt more like the entire forearm was the cannon instead of just this little dinky barrel. It's not a huge problem, not a deal breaker by any means, but it does look a little tiny to me, and I wish it was just a little bit longer and kind of just flowed better from the giant size of the forearm into the barrel so that it felt complete instead of just, you know, it's very much apparent that it's just a little piece you're popping on the end. So, again, not a deal breaker by any means, but just felt a little dinky to me. But yeah, overall, I really do like him a lot. I think the detailing is there. I think the head sculpt is great. All the paint applications look good. The different color plastic is utilized well. Love the Autobot symbols. I do feel the head is a little tiny compared to the rest of the body, but again, not a deal breaker by any means. Yeah, I like him quite a bit. So unfortunately, I did just put a bunch of stuff away, so I just have a random size comparison here. Here is a Voyager class Metalhawk. You can see that they're about the same size, but obviously he's kind of a lot taller and lankier, whereas he's kind of just, you know, overall proportions here. So he kind of seems a little bit bigger and just kind of naturally wider. But again, I don't think either one is better than the other, but they are about the same size since they're both Voyager class. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the transformation. We can start off by taking the forearm pieces and rotating those fists back in. That's going to be how they are stored in the vehicle mode, as well as the weapon utilization. So we'll close that up. We're going to open up the chest panels here. And then this part can be a little tricky, but you kind of have to, this gray panel here is going to lift up. And it can be a little tricky to kind of get that out of there. Sometimes I have to use the sword just to get it started. And then this is going to come up and close up over the face. Now, probably a lot of people are asking about a possible matrix. As you can see, the cavity is really just meant for the head. So I really don't think you could fit a matrix in there. It's a little small. So they didn't include a matrix, and I don't really think you could use a matrix from something else to fit in his chest. Then you're going to rotate this whole piece around, this whole gray piece that the head is attached to. That's going to rotate in, and then that will allow you to close up the windshield windows here fully, like that. You're probably going to have to open them again in a minute, but for now we'll close them up. You can come to the back here, and this section will unhook. So basically, these two clips fit between this bar and this bar here, from this like cow catcher piece that he has on the front of his vehicle mode. So that comes up and that's kind of clips over these two pieces, and that's how that stays attached. At this point, we're going to do an ab crunch, which I guess technically can you utilize this in the robot mode? No, I don't think you can because this is attached, so you can't utilize the ab crunch, but we're going to use it here. And then that will allow us to flip out these wheels. So they will flip around like so. Move the arms out of the way. This is where I talked about you're probably going to have to open one of these up again, maybe both of them, so that you can spin this around on this mushroom peg. You can see the mushroom peg is in here. So keeping this part stationary, this is going to rotate around, and then you can close these back up. I find when you try, the directions tell you to do it after they're closed, but I find when you do, it's not like it hits into, you can see the bottom part here hitting into this, so I just open it just for simplicity. So there we go, we have that section. The legs are going to kind of just hang out here for a moment. We're going to do the arms now. So basically how this is going to work, and they tell you like in the steps to rotate this and then flip this out and rotate that. You don't really have to do all that. Basically you just want to pop these out, and then there's a top section here that also has to pop out like that. And then you want to just bring this around 180 so that that can, you know, eventually fit into there. Now this is the part that's weird for me, and I don't know if anyone else had this issue. This gray piece here, this whole gray shoulder assembly, you can see is actually just on a mushroom peg, and this whole piece is going to come down 90 degrees. When I did it for mine, it really doesn't look like there's enough space here. This just looks so much longer than where the ball joint is, and I think maybe mine was pushed in too far, I'm not sure. But when I tried to bring this down, it kind of completely popped out of the mushroom peg. It's weird. It's kind of a weird clearance thing. Obviously it works, but it doesn't seem like it should be able to because it's so much taller than it is wide. And so when you turn it, it doesn't seem like it should work, but it kind of does. So if yours is like mine and you accidentally pop the thing off the mushroom peg, it's very simple to just slide it back into the channel. So just something to be aware of. This one I did not have as much trouble with. This one did it very simply. The other thing it tells you to do is to rotate this up. You know, like to take this and go like this while it's still in this position and then rotate it down. But it's kind of hard for it to fit when you do that. So I kind of just tend to make sure you have a hold of it, because I don't want to pull just by this, because over time that could break. So just kind of make sure you have a good hold of it and then rotate that down. And then you can bring these in. And these have kind of like a soft little channel here, which is going to fit onto this little piece right here. So you also want to rotate these down 180 degrees because they're going to come in handy later. So we will bring this in and kind of sit that in that channel. Rotate this piece down. Bring it in to sit it in that channel. And then you can kind of bring this in. Bring that down a little bit. This will come in and fit into this space. I forgot to transform this one, so bring this up. And then I'm going to bring this back out temporarily. Move this up because I forgot to rotate this around. There we go. Flip this out. Brings down. So once again, pop this into the channel. Bring this up. This will go into the space where it is supposed to go. You want to make sure you get behind these little silver pieces. And then you're going to just bring these up, and this will fit into this space here, like that. Like that. Then you'll take these little pieces and flip these around, and you can see that there's two little tabs right there for these spots right here. So this just closes up this area like that. And then this is going to come down here and just cover that up like so. At this point, you can bring this up, and there are those two spots we utilized earlier are going to peg into the spots that were the forearms. So kind of accordion this in and then snap this on the front. You can also see that there's kind of a tiny little cutout there. You can see it right here, so just make sure that lines up as you're attaching all of that. And then you can basically see we have the entire cab section done. So coming to the leg sections, you might be thinking to yourself, all I have to do is kind of peg this together and just leave it go, right? And I guess technically you could do that if you were happy with this. I guess technically, well, now these pieces down here would get in the way. But if you kind of just want a more, you know, normal looking Prime trailer mode, I mean, I guess technically you could, but that's not what you're supposed to do. It's going to get a lot goofier looking. So let's go ahead and take this, So this section you want to kind of bring away from, because this little tab here is kind of put in there. And then that'll allow you kind of have to pull this away from the leg a little bit. So lift this up and then out, and then this whole piece will swing up. So we're going to then bring this around like that. Then we're going to take the leg and rotate it 90 degrees and then bring it in. You can see there's a little tab right here, and that'll tab into the foot and bring this around like so. It's always a little weird. It doesn't quite want to line up. There we go. So we're going to repeat this whole thing over here. We're going to lift this away. We're going to lift this up and unhook. We're going to rotate the foot 90 degrees, bring this in, and then you can peg these two together. So make sure, oh, I forgot to rotate. This one has to rotate around. Now they can peg together. So, yeah, so now you have these two. You can also take these little pieces have like the tiniest little spot right there, which just pegs in right there. So that's just for stability. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I don't think that's going to hinder anything in a moment. This one doesn't want to go. Nah, whatever, it's not important. Okay, so then these pieces, this is why we had to bring these pieces around. So there's a tab here, and there's a kind of tab slot there. So we're going to bring this down like this, and then this whole piece is going to come around, and this tab is going to go into the tab slot, and then that little peg hole will be for this peg here. So this will come around, lift in, line this up, and it can be a little difficult to line them up, but there we go. So now this is going to bend. This comes up, lifts into here and in there. And that is all tabbed in. And this one still doesn't want to go in here. I'm not really quite sure why. There it goes. And then the last little step is to just flip out the gas cans on the side. And there is your Optimus Prime in vehicle mode. Now, one thing I have to apologize, I did forget. There is a spot in here that you can peg the sword into. It'll probably be a little difficult to do now. Maybe if I can open this up just a bit, bring this in here, peg that in. There's a little peg hole on the inside of the upper thigh, and then bring this back down. And I accidentally flipped in the gas can. Okay, so that's storage for the sword. And then the little gun nubbin piece can peg in right here. So one of those two tabs we talked about earlier, and that can just tab on right there. So you have weapon storage for the vehicle mode. Yeah. I don't get all of this. As I showed earlier, just kind of leaving the legs down, I kind of wish that was it, honestly. I feel like they felt like they had to do something with the legs for transformation, and I don't really think they did. The front cab section looks great. I love it. The paint looks sharp. I love the cow catcher thing here on the front. The smokestacks look good. Silver paint all on the side. I am all down for all of this. This is just unnecessary, and it's weird, and I don't know what they're doing with this or why. I don't know. I don't hate it, but it's just really weird to me, and I don't know why they went this way. It's just unnecessary. I just don't, and it looks weird because you just have these like pieces. Like if it was just smooth or something, I think the one from Bumblebee did something similar, but it was kind of smooth. And just, you know, it didn't look as weird and jarring. It's just weird. Again, I don't hate it. It rolls well. I like that. And I think the cab looks great. It's just weird to me. So like I said, I kind of want to see if I can do something. Now, I've seen like a third-party kit where they give you some different things to do, where you don't have to transform this whole back half. And I forget exactly what they do to make it different, but there is like an add-on thing you can do to kind of give him a normal leg situation, but I kind of just want to do it myself. I feel like I don't need the third-party pieces. I feel like I just want to bring this out, you know, get the sword out of here. And so, like, I guess because you transform the legs, that makes it so... But, like, does this piece need to be here? Why can't this just lay flat? Like, if this just stopped here and just had, like, the peg... Because there is a peg, there's a tab here, and then there's a tab slot there. That would have been enough. I feel like, okay, maybe if this wasn't here, it might have just laid flat, and maybe it wouldn't have pegged in, but I think I would have liked it better. The only other thing I can think of is if I bring these out and I spin these back around like this, and then maybe, but see, because of this piece, you need these pieces to peg into each other like that. And so that, I mean, maybe I could even just do something like this. Maybe something like this. I mean, honestly, even that I like better. I'm kind of okay with just that. Still rolls perfectly fine. I'm kind of okay with that. You kind of just put it at like a little bit of an angle. It'll just sit there. It's not a problem. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm just, you don't need any third-party kits or anything. I think I'm just going to leave it. Now, you know, does it only connects at that one space. And honestly, I could even still put the sword here. I could still put the sword in here. That wouldn't be an issue. I could peg that together. And now the sword is hidden. You don't even see the sword now. I think this is it. I think I just solved this. It's simple. There's not really anything you have to do. You just mistransform it a little bit. I think that looks so much better. I actually really like that a lot. Now, I don't have anywhere to peg this in, to be fair. But I don't know that I care, honestly. Is there anywhere else I could put this? No, not really, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I kind of like that a lot. I really don't have an issue with this. Can I just tweak this a little bit? Yeah. Yeah, I like that infinitely better. I like this guy a lot. I really like the robot mode. I think it looks really sharp. Nice paint applications. I love the two giant Autobot symbols. I like the accessories that he comes with. I think he's got great articulation. Just all in all, I really love the robot mode. And some people may be asking about his axe that was featured very prominently in the movie. I guess they ran out of cost for this release, but they have packed his axe with the Studio Series Optimus Primal. So if you pick up that release, then you'll be able to give Prime his axe as well. And then he'll be fully decked out with all of his weapons from the movie. But yeah, he looks good. I really like the robot mode. I think the vehicle mode is pretty cool. I like the transformation. I do think having the legs come apart and like tuck onto the back is a weird look. But with a couple tweaks, I was able to kind of find a fan-made mode that I really like. And so I'm probably just going to stick with that. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a really fun release. I said I don't have the Bumblebee release to compare to directly. But I do think this one is probably a little better because I think it's a little bit easier to transform. And I think the proportions are a little better. That guy was a little bit chunkier. And I think this is a little bit taller and lankier, which is kind of what Prime looks like in the movies. So I think this is a great release. I still think it's weird that it is a Target exclusive. But hopefully it won't be that difficult to find. Because, I mean, it's Prime, the main character from the movie. Pretty much the main character from the franchise. So why you would ever make him an exclusive, I don't know. But definitely check this one out if you can. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like my fan-made mode, if you like the more official mode, if you have an even better fan-made mode, let me know. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.